Hi, this is the second time I have tried to record this video, and it's going to be difficult for me to try and explain things, especially when you can't see my cursor, my arrow. So first, before I get into this, I want to say that if I am wrong, sorry, I apologise if I'm being too loud. If I am wrong, then tell me. If I am wrong because I have misunderstood something, then please let me know. If I've just misunderstood something, please let me know. Like, I'm okay. I can take that type of criticism. As long as you're not calling me names, right? I can take it. It's okay. I'm a 35-year-old man. I can take these things. I'm not like a lot of people on YouTube and a lot of other creators. Like, I'm okay. If I've done something wrong, if I've misunderstood something, please let me know. So this is going to be difficult for me because of various reasons. You can't see my cursor, so you won't be able to see where I'm pointing at, so I'm going to try and describe it as well as I can. We all remember the flashlight video that was released, right? Nick Berris, I think it was, claimed that there were two subjects and that one of them was moving towards the other. The second subject was moving towards the first subject. We were then told that that was lights from a trash truck, right? And I've always thought, well, this doesn't make sense. I think we're being lied to here. You know, that's what I've always thought. I think we're being lied to. I don't know why they'd lie to us. But we all know that the authorities legally can, and often do, lie to the public for various reasons. Whatever reasons they are, could be different when it comes to different cases, but they can and they will if they need to. So we were told that these flashlight videos were lights from a trash truck, and there were a lot of people out there that were like, well, we've never seen trash truck lights move like that, right? And we were also told that the lights were from a few streets away, right? That they were caught from a few streets away. I don't believe that explanation, and I'm going to try my best to explain why I don't believe that explanation. So what you're seeing on screen... let me start this. Remember the video, right? That video was a small section taken from a video clip taken from the view of this camera that you're seeing on screen. So this camera that you're seeing on screen, the screenshot that you're seeing, is a screenshot from that exact same camera that the flashlight video was taken from. But the flashlight video that we saw was only a small section of the recording. So I've got a view from that same camera, and we are being told, and I'll later explain why, but we are being told that this view that you're seeing now is from the same night that Sebastian went missing, so therefore should be from the same night that supposed flashlight video was taken from also. So the screenshot and the flashlight video supposedly, or maybe people are assuming, that it was taken from the same night. I don't think that this would have been put out there if it wasn't taken from the same night. I agree with Michelle, when it comes to that. So, the screenshot that you're seeing now from the camera and the flashlight video taken on the same night, right? We are told that they're not flashlights. We are told that they are trash truck lights taken from a few streets away. I'm going to try and show you why that, in my opinion, is kind of impossible, right? So when I try and explain a few things in editing, when I'm editing this video, I'm going to try and zoom in so you understand what I mean, because you can't see my cursor, so you can't see where I'm pointing. Right, here we go. I'm going to keep this screenshot on screen, and then I'm going to overlay the video, the supposed flashlight video. So I'm going to do that now. You see that? See that? See subject 1, you see the lights that seems to be coming from a house in the top left-hand corner, and you see subject 2 come on screen there. Let me just turn this video off. You see it? You see the subject 1 light and the light source that seems to be coming from a house of some sort? You see how on the screenshot of the larger view and the zoomed in part of the flashlight video, you see how those lights are in the same position? The flashlight video and the screenshot that you see on screen now are from the same camera. And I've tried my best in overlaying to get the proportions right as well. And I think I'm pretty close, as you can see. So, future me, zoom in to the light and future me will know what light I am talking about. Future me, zoom into the light reflection and the light source. Right. You see this light that I'm also going to mark out with a circle. And you see the light source, so the reflection, and then you can see where the light is coming from, the actual light source. Well, I'm going to let Michelle After Dark explain what this is. And I have to do it this way because of the way that I'm recording. You can't see where I'm pointing at. So I'm going to let Michelle After Dark explain what this light reflection, the light and the light source, is or could be. And I do believe this. I do believe this.
So this light comes on. So watch here. So these are the trucks, vehicles on the driveway. You can see the edge of the driveway there. You can see a vehicle there. You can see a vehicle there. And this is the mailbox. And then those are floodlights from a house further down Stafford. And this tiny dot here is the light on this house. There. Light on that house. Light directly across. So the camera's here. Now the camera's actually pointing to the driveway. So it's covering the driveway, but it captures Stafford. It doesn't catch Kelling, but it captures Stafford. All right, so if we just play this video, the light comes on here. There. So I think that's when the that's either a headlight or a tail light. When it triggers the camera, it becomes visible on the camera. And there's the light. Okay, so that's the video that we're talking about.
Right, so it seems like the light source is coming from either a headlight or a tail light of a car, right? And the reflection of the light, not the light source, but the reflection of the light is shone on a banking, a dip in the banking across the street from where this camera is. And I'm going to try and show you what I mean now. Apparently this is where the light reflection that comes from the light source, apparently this is what's being lit up. So this is directly across the street from the camera. Right? But again, we turn that off and we look at this. You see the top right hand corner again. The subject, one light, and the light from the top left corner of the video source that you can see. You see there? Subject 1, and then the other light source in the top left is the exact same as the screenshot from the full view of that same camera. And you see also just below those two light sources, the subject 1 light source and the light source that seems to be coming from a house on the top left. You see just below that in the screenshot, the light reflection on the banking and the light source that seems to be coming from either a headlight or a tail light from the car. So you see all those lights there, right? Let me overlay the video again. You see? Same proportion, same light sources, subject 1, and then the light source that seems to be coming from a house. It's the same camera. See that? It's the same camera, same view, same everything. And I've done my best to overlay it to try, and when I've tried to overlay it, I have overlaid it. I've tried my best to get the same proportion. You can see there, right? Subject 1 light, and then the light that seems to be coming from my house in the top left-hand corner of that video. See that? It's the same proportion, same positions, same camera. If we take into account just above, you can see Michelle's cursor there, the Michelle's arrow just below the light source that we are thinking is coming from either the headlight or a tail light of a car. Take that into account. So look at that light source that we think is coming from a headlight or a tail light from a car. Keep that in mind. So from that light source, you can sort of like in your head figure out where the car is placed, right? So keep that in mind. Keep it in mind that all the lights from the video and the screenshot are in very similar proportions, very similar positions. It's the same camera, and we are assuming from the same night. So if on the video source I change the opacity, we just change the opacity. Look at this. So we can see both videos at the same time. I think that's enough. So the opacity, I've changed it. So you can see the video source and the screenshot from both being from the exact same cameras, and we are assuming the exact same night. So we can see it, right? We can see it. Keep in mind where the light source from the car is coming from. Keep that in mind and watch subject 2. Watch where subject 2 is walking towards. Watch where subject 2 is walking towards. You see it? You see it? Watch where subject 2 is walking towards. Let me just start the video again. Watch where subject 2 is walking towards. Watch where subject 2 is walking towards. Did you see it? Did you see what I saw? Right, so the screenshot is the full view from the same camera as the flashlight video. It's the same camera, and we are assuming the same night, right? Otherwise, why would they release it if it wasn't the same night? We're assuming the same night. So in the screenshot that you can see on screen, you can see the light source coming from what we think is either a headlight or a tail light of a car, and then the reflection of the light that's lighting up the banking coming from that light source. Again, I will let Michelle explain.
So this light comes on. So watch here. So these are the vehicles on the driveway. You can see the edge of the driveway there. You can see a vehicle there. You can see a vehicle there. And this is the mailbox. And then those are floodlights from a house further down Stafford. And this tiny dot here is the light on this house. There. Light on that house. Light directly across. So the camera's here. Now the camera's actually pointing to the driveway. So it's covering the driveway, but it captures Stafford. It doesn't catch Kelling, but it captures Stafford. All right, so if we just play this video, the light comes on here. There. So I think that's when the that's either a headlight or a tail light. when it triggers the camera, it becomes visible on the camera. And there's the light. Okay, so that's the video that we're talking about.
If this is true, if it is the same camera, and if it is the same night, it doesn't necessarily mean, you know, because people are like, well, you can't see the headlight and you can't see the light coming from the headlight in the flashlight video itself, right? Doesn't mean that the car wasn't still there. It doesn't mean that the car wasn't still there. That car could have been still there during the flashlight video, just without the lights on. And if you look at the overlay of the screenshot with the car light there that I've got on screen now, and then if I turn on the video, the flashlight video, and you watch where subject 2 walks towards, assuming that subject 2 is in fact a person with a flashlight, that subject 2 is moving towards where the car would have been parked. Subject 2 is moving towards where that car would have been parked. It's walking towards the same position as the car. It's walking towards the same position as the car. In the flashlight video, you can't see the light coming from the car, but it is the same night, it's the same camera, and it doesn't mean that in the flashlight video that the car wasn't there. The car could have been there just without its lights on. Now let's just assume that what I've just said is right. Right? Let's just assume what I've just said and what I've tried to explain is right. If that is right, which I do believe it is, because the lights, the subject 1 light and the light from the house in the flashlight video is in the same position as the lights from the screenshot, as you see. And both the flashlight video and the screenshot come from the same camera. So it's in the same position, which means, excuse me, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. The light that's also on the banking from the car light, in my opinion, if you look, the subject 1 light has to be coming from a house directly or near a house or from the house directly across the street, which is this house on the right hand side in the screenshot you see now with the trucks. If that light is coming from that house, which we are led to believe, then if you look at the proportions, you see, let me just get it up here. That there, I've overlaid this picture as well. So if that light, like this picture that you see now, is not the correct proportions, it's pretty difficult to get that from Google Maps. But if you look, if the subject 1 if the subject 1 light from the video is coming from across the street, directly across the street, and if you look at the proportions of the light, the car light and the subject 1 light, the subject 1 light has to be coming from the house or really close to the house, directly across the street from the camera. If you look at the proportions, like this is the view. If you then try and line it up, you know, the subject 1 light has to be coming from the house across the street. I can't line it up exact, but the subject 1 light has to be coming from the house across the street, which means the second light that we see from the video, the one that looks like a house, has to be coming from the house close. How do I explain this? Like, I'm really bad at explaining things. The second light on the video, right, that seems to be coming from a house, that looks like it's coming from a house, has to be from one of the houses on the left-hand side of this screenshot that I'm moving around. If you line it up, If you line the banking up with the light that's shone on the banking from the you see the light from the car that's shining on the banking. I'm lining it up with the banking from this screenshot. Whichever way I do it, whichever way I place it, that second house light in the top left-hand corner has to be coming from one of the houses that you see on the screenshot here. Which means, if this is right, and I'm sorry for explaining it in a really crappy way, but I have a hard time doing this. If I'm right that the subject 1 light is coming from the house directly across the street, and the second light that looks like a house from the top left-hand corner of the video, you see, if the top left-hand corner light that looks like it's coming from a house is coming from a house, which it looks like it is, then it has to be, when you look at the proportions, it has to be one of the houses on the screenshot in the top left-hand corner of the screenshot that I'm moving around now. It has to be one of those. Sorry, it has to be one of those houses. If you line it up or try and line it up, it has to be coming from one of those houses when you look at the proportions of the lights on the screenshot plus the flashlight video. Which means if you look at where the subject 2 light goes, sorry for the heavy breathing, if you look at the subject 2 light, in my opinion, it seems like subject 2 is coming from... Where is it? No, not that. Subject 2 has to be coming from somewhere around these houses within the middle of this screenshot. It has to be. It has to be. If you look at the proportions of everything, the light has to be coming excuse me, from one of these houses or roundabout behind these houses that you see on the screenshot. Has to be. Gee, I would really like, not to promote my video, not to promote my channel, I would really like to get onto one of these channels that I see on YouTube talking about this stuff and explain it live on one of their panels as to what I mean, what I'm trying to get across. If you line everything up and you line all the proportions up as well, that second subject light that we believed at first was a flashlight has to be coming from in between the houses that you see in this screenshot. It has to be. And I'll try and zoom in. It has to be coming from the middle, down these, like you see the house on the left and the house on the right that's directly across the street from the camera. It has to be coming, subject 2 has to be coming in between these houses. Has to be coming in between these houses for it all to line up. I am recording this section of the video after the original part. Like I'm in the middle of editing the main video. And in between doing that, I've watched parts of Michelle's video again. And so she basically explains that the subject from the flashlight video, the subject 1 light on the right hand side of the video there is actually a stationary light that is above or seems to be above the garage door of the house directly across from the camera. So I know like some people are going to say, well, in the video you're not lining it up properly, and to a point I'm not, and that's not on purpose. Like, it's pretty hard to do this, but when you line the subject 1 light up with the light above the garage door from across the street, it doesn't line up right with the light shone on the banking. But regardless of that, regardless of how it's lined up, regardless of all of that, regardless of how it lines up with the light above the garage door from across the street from the camera, if you try, regardless of the way you try and line everything up, keeping in mind and taking into account the proportions of everything as well, like the light that is coming from the tail light or a headlight of a car on the street, right? That light that we spoke about, and then the light shining on the banking across the street, if you line everything up, none of it makes sense, regardless of the way that you line the lights up. Even if subject 1 light is in the correct position and the same position as the light above the garage door, regardless of how you line it up, nothing makes sense. If I rotate it still, and I'll do that for you as much as I can. Let me just see there. I can get this up. I can rotate this. That's rotating the wrong way. Line it up again. Rotate it. I'm not rotating it there, I'm moving it up and down. Rotate it, line it up again. Regardless of how you line it up, the light from the second light, not subject 2, but the second light from the flashlight video, the one that looks like floodlights coming from a house, that light does not make sense. It has to be coming from one of these houses. The way, regardless of how you turn it or how you try and line it up, whether it's right or wrong, and people say what I've done is wrong, and maybe in some instances it is, but it's really hard to get it right, 100% correct. But regardless of how you line it all up, taking into account the proportions from the light above the garage door across the street from the camera, plus the light from the headlight or tail light of the car that's then shining on the banking, if you line it all up and take all of the proportions into account, regardless of how you line it all up, right? The subject 2 light, and then the floodlights that looks like it's coming from a house, can't be coming from above these tree lines or through the tree lines. Keeping in mind that I think at the time of the year that Sebastian went missing, the canopy might not have been there. So take that into account. But even still, it couldn't have been coming from streets away. It just couldn't have been. It's not possible, in my opinion. The floodlights that looks like it's coming from a house has to be coming from one of these houses here. The floodlights that seem to be coming from another house on the flashlight footage has to be coming through one of these houses, in my opinion. Regardless of how you line everything up, how I've lined everything up, regardless of how I have rotated everything, the light placement doesn't make sense unless the floodlights coming from that looks like it's coming from the house, a house on the flashlight footage is coming through, unless that light is coming from one of these houses here, which also means that the subject 2 light that seems to be moving has to be coming from in the middle of this house and this house. It has to be coming down the middle, which means it was coming and walking towards the direction of where the car was in the other footage. Keeping in mind that the 2 clips are from the same camera on the same night. So in the flashlight in the flashlight footage, you can't see the head / and or tail light in the flashlight footage. You can't see that, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't there. And regardless of how you try to twist it and turn it and line the lights up, keeping in mind and taking into account the proportions of everything, the floodlights in the top left-hand corner of the flashlight footage has to be coming from one of these houses here, which means the subject 2 light that seems to be moving independently of everything has to be coming down the middle of these houses, in my opinion. Regardless of how you tried to line the lines up, it doesn't make sense for the subject 2 light to be a light from a trash truck from streets away. Regardless of how you line it up, the trash truck explanation makes zero fucking sense. My opinion, the floodlights on the top left-hand corner of the flashlight footage is coming from one of these houses, which means the subject 2 light that we think is moving independently of all the other lights is coming down the middle of these houses here. Which means the subject 2 light was walking towards where the car would have been.